Okay, guys. So here is the my repaint on the Batman Andy sculpt. I don't know if the light is too bright that you don't see the detail. Let me turn off one of them. That might be better. I don't know. Anyway, now my client didn't want too much 5 o'clock shadow on there. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but it's very, very subtle. But to the naked eye, you can see a shadow very lightly, not as dark as the way they came. And I didn't record this process, but a good friend of mine on Facebook, Sebastian Lutz, would like to know how I did this, or at least some kind of idea how to do some flesh tones the way I do them. So what we're going to do is work on the second head right here, which is already primed. So hopefully, whoops, sorry guys. So hopefully you'll learn something here as well. Ah, shit, hold on. Okay, now to get a flesh tone, that's a bitch. I think there's different formulas out there that people use, and sometimes I just kind of like eyeball it. Sometimes it turns out too dark or light or too pink, or it's not easy, at least for me. So what I do is really just a matter of playing around with it. But I start with some white, and you want to start off with some white because if you start off with a different color and then it's it's not light enough, and you're just going to keep putting more white to lighten it up or whatnot, and then you're going to end up with a bunch of paint that you don't need. Next, what I do is do a little bit of orange. Now, I'm not measuring this, I'm just calculating it. And right now we just have a kind of like a pale yellowish orangey thing. A bit more orange. Now you're probably asking, what am I looking for? And well, heck, I don't know. I mean, I'm just, I just thought it was too light. I go in with. By the way, I'm using the FX, FW acrylic paints. This is orange and white, of course, and this one here I'm using golden high floor acrylics, burnt sienna, and I just want to add a little bit of that. You don't want it too dark, so you just do little by little. And as you can see, it's almost starting to look kind of like a very light flesh tone. Let's add more. Again, I mean, even though I have this, that doesn't mean that's the color the piece is going to look like, because once it's on, I still do more things on it. So this one looks pretty good. So I guess we can work with this. Again, you can add a little hint of red if you like, but like I said, once this goes on, this is actually just the base, and then I'll just be adding some more stuff on there. So let's try this on him and see what happens. Alright, one thing I forgot to mention is I covered up the eyes because my customer did like the way the eyes were, so we covered them up with silly putty. So you just got a little bit of silly putty and put it inside there and covered up the eyeballs. Alright, so let's get the first base on there. Alright, so right now it's I kept going until I got a nice solid color. Again, I think the lights are too bright, so you're seeing a lot of shine there. So I'm going to hit this with the hair dryer. And as I do with all my paints, I use the matte finish to seal the first layer I did. And again, the reason I seal it is because when I go in with some other paint on there, if I mess up, I can just wipe it off and I won't disturb the first layer that I did. Now what we're going to do is mix some different colors, reds, blues, and some browns, and we're gonna dilute them, and we're gonna do some little spatter on him. All right, we're gonna start off with these colors, red, blue, and some brown, and kind of add a little bit of water in there, not too much, and I mean they could be a little bit more diluted. You don't want them too solid of a paint on the face, but you can always wipe it off, like I said. I ran out of alcohol, but once they're this liquid I could add a little bit of alcohol, and that way it will help it dry faster, but this will be good. Alright, so I got me a brush that I just cut the edges here because I want the splatter to be very fine. So let me show you here. So before I spatter it on the figure, I actually just, see, you don't want them that big. I don't know if the camera's capturing it, but when I start seeing that they're very tiny, that's when I go up to him and do it. Alright, I turned off the overhead light so you guys can see a little bit better. I mean, I can't, but you guys can. Alright, so I'm spattering on the cardboard until I see a fine spatter, and then I just come in and spatter him. Now see, that's way too much, so the good thing is you can dab it off. That's the good thing about the sealing the paint before. But I'm just kind of dabbing, and the ones I don't want, I just really just take off. All bending down. Alright, I don't know if you can see here, but there's a lot of little splatter there, and a little pinkish looking. Kind of hard to see, I guess, on camera. Now we're going to do the same thing with the blue. Okay, now one thing I forgot to do is seal the first layer, which was the red. Never forget that, because if I would have messed up here and tried to wipe more than I did, I would have ruined the first layer of the red that I did. So again, I forgot to seal the red part. So now what we want to do is seal this part. Alright, now I'm doing the same thing with the brown. Now all this stuff will be covered with the base coat again. Alright, now we're going in and cover. I mean, you're just gonna make it look like it's, see-through. I want to come in and do a little bit of shading. Sometimes I don't spray right onto the figure, because since this is not painted, I tend to just try to get the thin spray. Well, when I see what I like here, then I just come in Alright, now once I have the shading, I do go over it a bit again with just a lighter touch, not to cover the shading, but to kind of knock it down a bit. Very subtle. Now I'm getting a little bit of my brown, and I'm very lightly coating it, but you want to be careful here. You don't want them to turn too dark like me. Okay, what I'm going to do now is get my red diluted paint. Now this is sealed, so if I mess up, I can take it off. And I'm just gonna add some red on the skin tone and wipe off. You don't want it to be too red or too blushy looking, but this will, you know, bring out the skin a bit more in certain areas and make them look a little bit more realistic. I'm going in with a little bit of diluted red for the lips. But you don't want them to look feminine. And I just go back in with a little bit of brown. Okay, now what I do is I get translucent black and do very subtle 5 o'clock shadow. So here's the silly putty, my dental tool. You can use anything that helps you. Toothpicks, whatever. I'll be using the Krylon flat black, and that's only because my client is painting his cape and everything else black, and he wants to make sure he has the right can to match what I'm doing here. So let's spray this guy. Silly putty off, but not the ones in the eyes. Now we're taking care of the final details where the paint didn't catch. Alright, so here he is. So now the next step is to knock off that shine, and we're going to use dulling spray, not matte spray, but dulling spray. This guy here. And that's going to knock the shine off the face and make it more realistic. Alright guys, so I went ahead and put it on my statue here so you can get an idea of what he looks like now. Well guys, hope you learned something. Thank you for watching, and more videos to come.